Legal Forum session. Good morning, and for those joining us from abroad, good evening. My name is Srida Harichandran. I'm an executive counselor in the UKEC Careers Office, and I will be moderating the session today. I'm excited to introduce our lineup of panelists today. From Axiata, we have Norlida Azmi, the Chief People Officer. From British American Tobacco, we have Ivan John, the National Sales Manager. And from Top Glove, we have Daryl O, the Deputy General Manager. Before we begin today's session, I'd like to introduce our main topic of the day, which is young talent. As more young graduates begin their careers, our panel of experts look to discuss where their place is in the workplace. What measures are being taken to ensure their growth is guaranteed? How are tomorrow's future leaders being trained and guided? How are companies planning to keep the talent engaged in line with their vision? All of this and so much more will be tackled in the session today. I'll kick off the session with a question to all three panelists. What initiatives are employers conducting to give exposure and attract young talents? Let's start with Ms. Norlida, followed by Mr. Ivan, and then Mr. Daryl.
Thanks, Rita. Good morning and good afternoon, good evening on this Sunday to everyone. Greetings from Axiata to all of you. The initiatives are quite interesting, I feel, from Ras, who are in the digital and telecommunication industry, especially in the world that we are pivoting today. And increasingly, we are enhancing our continuing focus on the education initiatives to nurture young talent. And it's really looking at becoming future leaders, not just for the country. I think with mobile today, it's almost future leaders of the world, isn't it? And our talent attraction, we've also refined it. It's become two-pronged now, which is what we call the leadership journey, as well as the digital journey. And it's not just embracing what is hip today, but also it's also very core to what Axiata stands for. But let me just give a little bit more of depth on it. Under the leadership umbrella, we have a very strong three-track program. And when we talk about talents, we'd like to think that we go into your minds very early, i.e. in high school or secondary school in Malaysia. So this is our school leadership program targeting the 13 to 17 years old. And then we come up to those 19, 25 years old called the University Leadership Program. And the ULDP is actually a two weeks leadership development program for young Malaysian undergraduates studying, like I said, locally or abroad, and its participants the opportunity to learn critical skills and knowledge required to be a future CEO. And that therefore, you know, what is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow, right? So it's a program that's very dynamic. And I think one of the more known program is called the Young CEO Development Program. The aspiration is that you want to be a CEO. So maybe this program is a 2-year leadership program for young Malaysian and professionals. And it's really to master that very key crucible, master critical skills to be a future leader. And we continue to pivot. We now have these Axiata digital leadership programs from school students to working professionals. And it's not just a CSR, it is really playing and being a responsible and sustainable program. And just before I close this, there are other programs that we do. You know, internships are always very interesting. It's a minimum of 2 months so that the talents get a taster of what Axiata really stands for. These days, you know, talent attraction is 2 ways. We have the Axiata Management Associates Program, which is 18 months first stop. And it's really going through the on-the-job experiential programs. So we hope to reach the hearts and the minds of the aspiring young talents out there in the market. And I think that's a little bit of sharing of what Axiata does. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Norlinda. That's quite comprehensive from Axiata, as always. I would say that. On the BAT front, so there's 2 questions to it. How to give exposure and attract young talent. It's quite a mouthful to start off for the first question, Srida. So there's two prongs to it, right? One is how do you give exposure, And the other point is, how do you attract young talents? Right? It's beautiful that the likes of Axiata can attract people from the high school and stuff like that. But us being BAT, British American Tobacco, we don't have that. We kind of a bit more controversial. We can't really go into that space, right? Let's start off with attracting young talents. Everybody loves young talents. Any progressive organization must have young talents, must believe in injecting young talents to be a better organization. And when we talk about better organizations, being a progressive, dynamic organization. BAT has a history of 120 years, 110 years in Malaysia, apologies, right? And I'm very proud to say over the 110 years, we anchor a lot on our global graduates, or previously we call it management trainee. I mean, in the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of people have rebranded, restructured the program as well. It used to be a 2 years program. With at one time we brought it down to 12 months, and then based on the feedback, because the feedback is constant, and they said that, oh, we actually appreciate it to be a bit longer, yeah, because the whole intent of shortening it is because we are at a very different timing where the younger talents are more demanding, are a bit more impatient, right? And the speed of things are much faster. No longer does it require someone to go through a 2 years program to be ready for a managerial role. Today we're talking about a lot of things goes through experiential, some go through self-learning. It's how do you equip yourself with that? So on BAT front, attracting talents, we have a few programs, like a lot of the organization, but mainly, I think most of the people who know that the BAT management training program, or now called Global Graduate Program, is one of the best programs out there. It really allows a true experience of having a coach, mentor, assignment managers, and you get rotated. For instance, I'm a marketing management trainee, or right now the new term would be global graduate, right? I go through sales, where I was posted to Kuantan. I've never been before. It's not the nice part. It's not the town of Kuantan. Okay, it's one of the smaller town of Kuantan. Where I had to stay in a motel and stuff like that. So it's a very enriching. Well, back then I wouldn't say enriching, like when I was still 22, 23 years old, right? But now looking back to it, it's like, whoa, I would never experience that at my own expense, right? And then yeah, so as what I'm saying is the GG program is very robust. I go through sales attachment, I go through channel attachment, I go through brand attachment, I go through activation attachment, I go through planning attachment. So it's a whole robust exposure of marketing before you finally decide, or before you start, not even design, before you start realizing where is your core, where is your strength, where is the thing that really attract you. And that is the beauty of the BAT GG program. The other portion that we have recently rolled out and reinforced is the internship program. This is to give it to those who are like, ooh, it feels like it's a big step to sign up to a new company, to commit my life. Yeah, it's a big word. Or while you're on your first year or your second year in your uni, that's where you want to taste it out, right? Say, okay, let me do internship program. And no, internship programs for multinational companies like this is not photocopying papers, it's not getting coffees. No, we are way beyond that. It's talking about it depends on which function you are. It's whether, okay, you are coming up as a 20-year-old. If you're in the HR function, how or what would you do to attract young talents? For instance, that could be the little assignment that we want to tap onto their brain. Yeah, it might not have a multi-million-dollar value tagged to it, but it's really tapping onto their strength, not to what BAT is. BAT is running well, but we need the younger talents to bring us to the future. Yeah. So having said that, that's essentially what we try to do to attract and also expose the young talent, right? On a larger scale, BAT, I'm not sure if the students are aware, the BAT on the last 3 years, since 2020, we went through a big revamp on our branding. We have revamped our purpose. It's called A Better Tomorrow. Essentially focusing on sustainability of our organization, by reducing the health impact of our business to deliver a more sustainable value for our stakeholders. And that's because, I mean, we tend to shy away that we're talking that we sell tobacco, right? But reality is we are also focusing on areas that reduces risk, right? As an organization, how do we ensure we're sustainable, but also very cognizant of the risks that our product bring into as well, right? So we've been setting up R&D centers. We've been involved in multiple M&A, mergers and acquisitions across the globe to really try to accelerate on developing, we call this RRP, reduced risk products. And it ranges very significantly differently, very differently from our current conventional tobacco product. Whether you talk about vapor, whether you talk about heating products, whether you're talking about, all we're talking about, all the alternatives versus the current conventional cigarettes. So that's another area that it's not about, it's attracting talent, but also as an organization, we realize that we need to progress for talents to come in as well. That's roughly that two-liners introduction from me. Daryl?
Okay, well said, Yadun. Okay, good health and good day, everyone. So, what young talents really wants nowadays? All right. So I think career growth and a modern working environment are the two main concerns of the young talents nowadays. I believe so. So I think employers start thinking about, it is not just about what the young talents can give or can contribute to the organization, but in the other way, it's what the organization can give, okay, or what the young talents can get from the organization. Okay, I think this is important. In terms of exposure, Top Glove is very much emphasizes on multitasking skills. Okay, so we have a program called Top Glove Management Associate program, where the young talents will have a job rotation in a different functions within 3 years. For example, a management associate in a HR role will have the job rotation in recruitment, compensation and benefits, HRBP, HR shared service, talent development, compliance, and etc. within 3 years. So at the end of the program, the successful talents will undergo a thorough evaluation, and they will be promoted to assistant manager, okay, with a very good salary increment. So this program is open to fresh grads, okay, whether you are a degree holder, master's, or the PhD students. So in terms of a working culture, it's I think we promote work-life balance where the company provides flexi working hours. We organize the monthly tournaments, the social events, free gym facilities to the employees, and continuous learning opportunities at all time to the young talents. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, it was great to hear from all panelists. I think it was definitely interesting to hear as a student how much all three of you are working not only to hone those technical skills, but also soft skills in terms of development as individuals. And I think that's definitely interesting to hear. I mean, I think one of the first things I'd just like to touch on is, I do have a question for Ollie about, so I just wanted to ask, what does Axiata do to monitor employees' ratings and employees' job satisfaction? Because I think that's something that a lot of students are interested in.
Well, it's one of those interesting conversations, Srida, when we use the word monitoring. It almost sounds like policing, right? And Ivan and Daryl have also shared about how the demographics of the population coming into any organization has changed, right? So policing may not be the right thing. And I mean, monitoring sometimes have that implication, but we do have to look at our employees across the various life cycles, at the point of attraction, at the point of development, And these days, when young talents, when talents join an organization, it's really a two-way relationship, right? So we monitor or check the pulse of our people, and our people also check the pulse of their employer, right? Of course, the most utmost reaction is if they don't like it, they vote with their feet, right? And I think those are very important. So it is, we do check the ratings, because when you have the performance, you want to see how well people are doing, right? And when people do well, you want to give the acknowledgement. If you don't have that, a little bit of a guideline to know where we are, how do you acknowledge achievements? So we do have performance evaluation, and that's performance. But what is more important is the employee satisfaction levels. Traditionally, organizations used to do this via annual survey, right? I think annual survey is way passe and too late. So what is really key is the dynamic conversation. And I think that's how employees' job satisfaction levels are best monitored in Axiata, is the people managers conversations. And the reason I want to bring this up is, for the young talents who are yet to come out into the organization, increasingly is a hybrid world, right? So how do the people managers actually get and gauge the employees' job satisfaction levels, those who are remote more of the time, those are more physical? So I think this is where, you know, that job satisfaction levels must be done on a more dynamic basis. And I think organizations that use tools to get the sentiments are now doing it much more periodic, and not just like ask you 60 questions at the end of the year. They ask the what are the people thinking on a more topical and a timely manner. Say, for example, right now in Malaysia, there are various stages of return to office, right? And it was very interesting that the reason I want to mention this here is, during the pandemic and lockdown, it was said that the young millennials and the Zenders were the ones who was missing coming back to the office because of the sense of isolation. But interestingly enough, in the RTO, it is our youngest people or demographics are saying, I'm a bit concerned coming back to work, you know? So for me, it gives a very psychological dichotomy. How can we then, now that we're able to come to work, bridge the isolation? So I think when you talk about job satisfaction levels in the newer generation of employees, one of my panelists here talk about the purpose. So I think how do we measure the job satisfaction levels is their commitment, and you can see how they do the productivity. How they answer these periodic things, you know, and one of the key things is, and I think getting their satisfaction levels is one thing, is getting more imperative that the organizations do something about it. If you get my feedback, can you please do something about it? Otherwise, don't bother, right? It's empty words. So we do check the ratings of performance and contributions, because I do believe this is a relationship that has to work both ways. But increasingly, job satisfaction levels, which is measured in many more dimensions, from organizations that give radical flexibility, job fulfillment, and career development. Because just now, Sridhar, you asked about the talent attraction, right? And that is the promise. What is really important to the organization these days is, do we deliver on that promise? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with what you're saying. And it's nice to hear also, again, that so much effort's being put into ensuring job satisfaction for employees. And I think it's definitely nice to hear about the differences generationally between how they perceive working remotely and working on in person. Something I do want to ask is, I think I'd like to direct my next question to Ivan. I think I might have misspoke earlier with your title. I believe it's the head of national sales. And I think just on that note, I would like to ask about your company's plans for developing this young talents.
Yeah, thanks, Sridhar. It's all right. Whether it's head of sales, head of national sales manager, it's a title is a title. But nevertheless, thanks for that. So what are the company's long-term plans with regards to developing young talents, right? If I get it right. Again, it's how do I put it? It's not that I'm not prepared. I'm just trying to think how do I go around this. Young talents. It's I'll be kidding if I tell you that I understand young talents. And I'm not to say that I'm that old, okay? It's just you guys grew in a very different generation. And I'm cognizant of that because I have a 5-year-old kid, and I was like looking at him. It's like he's going to grow into a world where it's all about it's not things to do with educational potentially. It's all about his ability to self-learn, right? You talk about metaverse, you talk about YouTube, self-learn on YouTube. You talk about so to a certain extent, it's a lot to do with grit, yeah, agility and grit. So when I connect to that, we talk about what's my long-term plan to develop young talents. We have structurally very strong programs that we're very proud of, right? GG programs. We have internship programs we're rolling out 2 to 6 months, wherever you're based in, whether you're Kuching, you want to be based in the sales office in Kuching, boom, take a risk. Or you're in Kuching, you say you want to try it out in KL, take out the internship program, right? But there's only that much that the organization can do, and trust me, we will continue to drive that. What more? And we pride ourselves that, because sometimes, like even last week, we talked about not last week, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about break the bias, right? I had a question from my colleagues, right? Yes, Ivan, where do we go with D&I for BAT? Why are we driving it so hard? My answer was very simple. Like, I'm in a position where I'm in an MNC company, and if an MNC company in Malaysia, it's public listed and it's in Malaysia, and we don't embrace the progressiveness and we are not driving it forefront, the entirety of Malaysia is just going to take a slower pace, right? Because things like this is no disrespect to Top Glove and Axiata, they do their big front as well, but I get to ride on the global cloud, right, of BAT and Cascada, and we have to drive it very hard. So we talk about developing young talents. It's a constant priority for us. The GG program is robust, and I spoke about we reshaped it from 2 years to 1 year to now 18 months, right? Because it's based on feedback on the GG candidates, which is people like yourself, Srida, right, your peers and stuff like that, and they felt that and they give feedback to they have coach, they have a mentor, and they have an assignment manager in each and every one of the assignments, right? Because we believe in exposing them throughout this entire all through and through functions of marketing, because that only then a person realizes where is his or her strength, yeah, and that is not just based on, for instance, Srida's view. It could be based on the coach and the mentor's view, who's been with him and her throughout the 18 months, right? A coach is someone who focuses on your what you call it, core functional capabilities. A mentor focuses on your leadership component, on the softer side, right? And then, of course, throughout the whole entirety, you have your assignment managers that rotates across it, right? That's one front of it. We are also, besides just the GG program, we are also we started rebooting our talent pipeline beyond just the GG. In fact, we had quite a fair bit of new joiners coming in since last year, and 70% of our new joiners are have less than 18 months in the workforce experience. So you can consider them somewhat of a fresh grad as well, right? But these guys are going to ask, these guys and girls are going to ask, so what's in it for us? Are we just mid-career and then we're going to be stuck? Do we get the same, how can we get the same acceleration like the GG? Reality is the GG program is going to be accelerated. You're under the microscope, right? You have a lot of resources behind that. ensuring that he or she makes it across to be one day to be the CEO or to be the GM of BAT in various countries, right? Same thing, we believe there's also a big bunch of younger talents there that just join us as mid-careers. How do we also give them some form of platforms? So we also developed things like, and these are all based on a lot of it based on feedback from the young the recipients itself or the employees itself, right? Because we have check-in with these new joiners and they give us feedback. Is there opportunities? How can we create opportunities? How do I get these opportunities? How do I get into projects? So the idea is that the points that they tell us, although sometimes might not be shaped entirely, it connects one after another box, right? And that's the role. That's my role, and my peers in HR as well as my other colleagues, right? And that's how we connected. Hey, can we create a short-term assignment? So let's say Srida joins in as a sales exec, but she's shown so much potential. We said, okay, send her into a short-term assignment into brands for 6 months. There's no risk. It's a very safe environment. She will not lose her job. She goes there, but we expect her to build the network, to learn from a head office perspective and come back being a much stronger Srida as a salesperson, or that would unlock her capability or the knowledge that she's required to go to the next level. That's one very specific example, right? And of course, the internship program that we've been speaking about, and we really want to encourage the first year or the second year, come in, join us, interns, and really experience it for yourself, how it is like in this organization. Okay.
Yeah, I think just what you said about cultivating that culture of being open to explore different things is something that I think is particularly interesting. I think on that note, I'd also just like to ask Daryl what Top Glove is doing to keep talents engaged and keeping that in line with your company's vision.
Thank you, Srida. Right. Employee engagement is a very important in elements is to ensure that everyone is aligned with the company's direction. Right. So Top Glove runs the yearly engagement survey, okay, by the external parties. So from that surveys is like we accept the employees will give the evaluation, okay, on the elements such as the managers' effectiveness, okay, in terms of their career and development, in terms of the senior leadership effectiveness, work-life balance, and so on. So from this score, okay, we will identify what is the best and what are the medium and the bottom. So Top Glove, it's not only is focusing it's on how to resolve the bottoms the issues, but we will also focus on how to upgrade or how to increase the score for those the top ranking the elements. So besides, okay, we organize the Top Glove annual leadership summit, okay, where the young leaders, okay, and the senior management, they will join together and they will share the ideas on the long-term targets, okay, and also the risk mitigation. For example, last year is the year of ESG, and this year is the year of customer-centric. So for last year we have that 2 days the annual the leadership summit, okay, so where it's like the young leaders, okay, and they will join, like about 200 young leaders they will join this summit, and then we will break them into groups, and then each group will give them a topic, but the topic which is related to the ESG, okay, and then they will do a presentations, and then on the day 2 they will join with the senior management to discuss further on the ESG initiatives in future. Yeah, so the board of directors and the top management, they are very concerned, okay day. So we make sure that it's between the employees and the top management, or even the board of directors, is that we'll have a very close communication. So on a periodic basis, is even the board of directors is will have the town hall session is with the blue collars. Okay, not only the white collars, but they will also have the the face to face is the town hall, the communication is with the blue collars. So I think these are some of the initiatives that Top Glove is doing in order is to make sure like the employees are really engaged, okay, and it's aligned, it's with the company's direction. Thank you.
Yep, that was definitely interesting to hear. And I think we've spoken a lot about how to keep talents engaged and interested once they've entered all these programs. But I think something I'd like to ask Ms. Norlida is, so before even that happens, when we're trying to engage young talents, and I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, I just wanted to ask about what platforms Axiata is using to reach out to those talents, where they can receive the latest updates on Axiata's vacancies and initiatives and development programs.
Thanks, Rita. I think engagement today has to be in multiple forms as much as possible. And it should be targeted at the platforms where the young talents are actually accessing as a way of life, not just because they're going to get a job, right? Because I do believe sometimes these days the job is like community engagement rather than a role. But having said that, my favorite on it has two, yeah. One is of course the LinkedIn, which is my personal favorite, because you see one dimension of the organization as well as of the aspiring talent to join us, right? And LinkedIn also you can see people's thoughts in a much more serious idea, right? So I think we try and reach out via LinkedIn by the roles that we have via activities. I'm quite an active participant on LinkedIn because I can have programs, but I think sometimes what the talents out there want to hear is how do we live it up? Not just you can say I have this program and that. And if it shows profiles of perhaps my management associates engaging with the group CEO and what were his thoughts at that time, right? And Daryl talked about ESG last year and things like that. And I think when it's very key that there are platforms where other senior leaders are also talking about it, digital acumen. So I believe LinkedIn is a very key platform that we try and reach young talents. And the job advertisement is only one aspect, because these days, the young talents look, what is the culture that the organization is propagating? What are their beliefs and their practices in sustainability, in DEI, and other things that shows greater connection between purpose and profit? And it's no longer a facetious statement or a correlation. So LinkedIn is very important, I think, for us, Axiata, also to use it and share with you, because it's when young talents are coming in, it's not just one stop, right? They hope to build a career. I'm realistic enough, the career may not be 20 years. It could be 3 years, 5 years. But I think it's a two-way assessment is, how much commitment do I want to put in this organization? How many avenues that the organizations have for me to meet my professional and my personal desire? So, like you will hear about our Axiata volunteer program to help the underprivileged, because you want to know that as part of working, you're only also going to do that. But when I have applicants coming in, I'll tell you, I'd love to check out their IG account or their TikTok account. I like to look for very balanced people who have a life beyond work, because it shows these days when mental well-being is such an issue. Understanding upfront that aspiring talents who are coming in are saying, okay, I want to work this much, I want to do camping, I want to do walking. So that's physical fitness, right? Because a lot of organizations are doing all these things. But what's important is, do the talents even want it? So the companies feel, yeah, I'm giving you all this thing, my Zumba and my fitness, but it's not what they want. So maybe they want an art class, right? So the only ways that we can know how to retain the talents that we're attracting, to retain them tomorrow, is what else do they want apart from being a data scientist in Axiata? And some of them really enjoy painting because it brings out their right brain or their left brain. So I would say we reach out to our talents on the multiple social media, the fun and the serious. But I also think, I hope one day, and Radwan, I was talking earlier, to have that physical connection, because it's really important. Because when you hear and see people, there's a certain vibe that comes to you, right? And you spark off. And therefore, right now, I would say we're 70% virtual, 30% physical. Physical always, oh, I can't come, close contact, and all these things, depending which country you're coming, right? And that's the reality. So for Axiata, we are using as much as possible the two combinations, realizing that I think going forward, it will never be 100% of one, but of both, in physical as well as the social media virtual platforms. Thank you.
It's great that you touched on this physical and social media platforms. And I think that's very relevant to this discussion that we're having now in this pandemic world and navigating about how companies actually navigate balancing remote work and physical work. And as such, I'd like to extend a question to Ivan about what are your company's views on flexible work arrangements or remote working arrangements?
Remote working experience. Okay. Before that, I like Ollie's approach on stalking them on Instagram and TikTok. I admit sometimes we before we give them a offer letter, we just look at it, just make sure that it crosses just a bit of like checking their what they've claimed that they like rock climbing, and then you see Instagram, oh nope, they're anything but rock climbers, right? So on flexible work arrangement, I think this is it's a very agile topic, if I can put it that way, because what our values, at least our company's value, is it's not so much of where you are, it's what impact you create, right? You can be in I wouldn't say Timbuktu, but you can be in, let's say, work from home mom 100%, right? I would like to put in one example of my recent one. She's ex BAT, then she joined back BAT, but she's a young mother. Well, she just gave birth to another new baby 3 months ago. We wanted her earlier, but then she said that I want to spend a bit more time with baby, right? And then we're like, okay, fine, let's make the time. This one talent that we're quite confident now after the interviews. So when she came in, and then obviously said, Ivan, how's the work from home arrangement? I said, look, for me, most importantly, she has a team of approximately 30 people under her, right? I say, most important is you need to know your team, right? Because that's the first thing for me. You need to know your team, because you need to be able to play to their advantage. You need to identify where the areas they need to work on, or what roles do they play for you in the team, right? And let's be real about it, right? In every team, whether it's a football team, a basketball team, a sports team, or whatever team it is, everybody in the team has different specific designated roles, right? Some to their strength, some not to the strength. Then how do you leverage on it, right? So, well, she said that she preferred a bit of flexibility. I said, yeah, I'm happy to do that with one condition: you need to know your team. Because once you know your team, then, apologies for the word I shouldn't use, I wanted to, then things get sorted out, right? You kind of know, okay, Srida, she's very analytical and also very articulate. She's the best person to create this, right? Ivan, a bit more geeky, a bit more programmer-like, this is strength. This is his strength, and also these are the areas that his weaknesses weaknesses. So that's where if there's certain deliberate intent to, okay, this is a very fast-paced project, I need expertise. Or these are the projects that I have more time, I want to take this opportunity to groom Srida based on her areas of improvement, right? So that's one condition that I imply. Provided you know your team, then I really, and as an organization, that's where we empower, right? We don't need you to be in the office, but what we need is a consistent impact to the organization, right? And in fact, we talk about deliverables, right? So it's a very different pace of, well, it's constant change, right? Because when we also had an attempt of we remove the tables, we have it, what do you call those terms, where it's a shared desk and stuff like that. But then the funny thing is, within the new joiners, they are the one who tell us that, boss, can we get designated desk? And I'm like, apa sabla? Why? Then they start saying, it's that one sense of belonging in the organization. Because we were like, oh damn, we thought, you young chaps like, agile, you don't need a designated desk. But for some who comes to the new to the job, they said they prefer designated desk because that's their sense of belonging. And then they know for the person sitting on my left and my right in the front, I kind of know who to expect. Where else I go into those that doesn't have a designated desk, is a bit like, I don't know who they are. I don't have a sense of belonging. I only have a locker. So it's a constant and it's a constant change. It's not so much of change, I would say. It's a constant adaptation for organization, because different people have different requirements of what good looks like to be in that organization, right? You want to have designated desk? Be my guest. You want to work from home? Be my guest. But most important for organization, and I think it's consistent across every organization, is your impact. Whether it's deliverables, whether it's projects, whether it's to the people, whether it's your leadership style, that core must be there. Because if we start compromising on those values, then it's whether it's remote work from home or work from office, it doesn't matter. Because if a person who's good at impacting leadership and impacting the organization, he or she can be working in beautiful Kota Kinabalu, which I was there last week, yeah, in one of the nice 6-star hotels. Not to say I can afford 6-star hotel, your own business, right? And yet it's in today's world, it's how you communicate to them, right? I'm not writing pen and paper and sending through snail mail anymore. A lot of things are done through what you call it, WhatsApp or Teams chat, depending on your organization, right? And sometimes it's voice message and even calls, and that's a lot more faster than sitting in the office waiting for the person to come in, set a designated timing. Okay, 10 o'clock to 10:30, I'm meeting Srida face to face. Sometimes you don't need that. In fact, it's a quick 5-10 minutes phone call. Boop, Srida gets it, or Ivan gets it. Bam, we get things going. So as an organization, what more? In BAT, we believe in empowering. We believe in progressing how the way we work. We cannot be working based on pen and paper, based on snail mails, because that is dinosaur. So in BAT Malaysia, what we practice is really through empowering employees. But for me, my personal value is one condition: you need to know your team, because that's otherwise your team gets left out or potentially alienated if you don't know them. But that's my personal value, right? In BAT, it's very different. It's empowered, and yeah, empowered.
Yeah, on that note, I think also just generally as a student, there always tends to be a little bit of nervous anticipation on the transition between being a student and actually working. So I think the next question I'd like to extend to Gerald about how does Top Glove help fresh grads learn to adapt the difference in the environment and how to adapt to the new culture that they're experiencing?
Interesting question. Okay. All right. So we have a very robust and people-centric the onboarding programs. Okay, so nowadays, like the onboarding programs is, not just the briefing by the superiors, okay, or, like using a video is, to show is, like the company cultures, the company information. So I think it is more on, like it's a human touch. All right. So in Top Glove is we for every new employee we assign mentor, okay, and we also assign a buddy. All right. So the mentor, it's not necessarily the superior. So the mentor, it could be like your peers. Okay. I mean, but probably someone who is more senior than you, and it will guide you about the company culture. Like in terms of the work, the job nature, and so on. And the buddy, it will be the person. It will like will bring you out for lunch. Okay, we'll show you where's the washroom. Like, and also like how to apply leave online. So yeah, so we assign the buddies and the mentor, right? So besides, we also organize we also organize an event in where the new joiners, whether they are staff or they are trainees, okay, so they will have a chance to meet the senior management or even the chairman on every Monday. It's called a birthday. We call it a birthday lunch. Is in where we celebrate those the birthday babies, okay, for that month, okay, and we'll also we'll have the new joiners will meet and greet, okay, the senior management and the chairman. So other than that, it's we also have the well-being, okay, and also the health programs, okay, where our corporate health is like will introduce is the healthy eating, like the company subsidized is we'll have this. I mean, the companies is give the subsidized meal is to all the employees, and we promote like the balanced diet. And we also organize the like I mentioned just now, is the sports tournaments or even the monthly social events, okay, to improve the relationship among the employees. So we encourage, okay, the new employees to join the engagement activities. So besides we also we are running clubs, okay, like HR is we are running like we have this the music clubs, okay, the sports club like the futsal, basketball, badminton clubs. So yeah, so we will promote, or we will encourage the youngsters, okay, and the new joiners to join these clubs, okay, where like more than 50% is the club's activity will be subsidized by the companies. Yeah, so I think they're pretty engaged. Okay? So we want them is to feel like this is a home. This is not just a workplace, but this is like a home for them. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think it's definitely nice to hear from all three companies about how we are navigating this entire thing, and especially as a student, it's definitely very relevant. I think we have some time just for one or two questions from the audience, and we are running out of time. So I just wanted to ask a question from Cash. How can young talents sharpen their ability in adaptability to get used to the current hybrid work environment while also meeting the overall work standards? I think if we could go from Axiata to BAT, then Top Glove, just in one sentence, what young talents can do to adapt to this new environment.
Be courageous and experiment. And I think organizations are welcoming failure, test and be prepared to fail and succeed the next time around.
Be yourself. Be the better version of yourself. Bold, take risks, right? You're only 21, 22, 23 once. Go for it, right? Don't hold back. Don't let it hold back. The faster you fail, or let's not use the word, the faster you make mistakes, the faster you progress. And that's honest truth, right? more often than not, and particularly Malaysians or Asians, we are quiet, we reserve, we play it safe. So for my fellow Malaysians who I can resonate 15 years ago, which is, I shouldn't tell my age, right? I want you guys to be bold, because I believe that Malaysians actually have it all, but we just tend to mute ourselves all the time. We undersell ourselves all the time, and that frustrates me. So for fellow Malaysians, be bold, be really, you guys graduated, you guys survived in UK, you guys had the time of your life. Come back and bang, 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 show us what you got.
For me, the moment you step out from the universities, the first thing is forget that you are a student, because you are no longer a student. All right. So be well prepared, okay, to embrace the new challenges as an employee, or if you want to have your own business, then you have to open up yourself to take any new challenges moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, it was definitely something that was nice to hear. And I think one of our last questions is, I think coming from a rather unconventional degree, I'm naturally curious if you had any advice for students transitioning from different degrees, maybe not specifically what Axiata's BAT and Top Glove is looking for, but do you have any advice for them transitioning from that into a different career path? Let's start with Ollie.
Go for it. I'm a living proof. I graduated with IT. I'm in HR. You swing to the one that plays to your capability and your aspirations as you go through life. Don't worry, the first degree doesn't define you. The first degree shapes you into your first opportunity, but does not define you.
Beautifully said, right? I would say, look, when you made the choice to go to your degree, you are what, 17, 18 years old, maybe? Goodness gracious, I shouldn't bang on your entire future based on a decision on 18 years old, right? But that creates a foundation for you, where you get to know. Look, it's 18 to 21 years old. Yeah, some what do you call that, degrees are professionals and very focused onto it. Well, some a bit more generalistic. You know, so the careers, good news to students is careers are very generalistic, right? Unless you tell me you want to be a doctor and then you actually did marketing, okay? So don't forget about it. But if you did pharmaceutical, if you did data science, you did you name it, right? And you said that I'm actually quite interested in brand marketing. I'm quite interested in sales, because I want to be out and about. I'm interested in HR. I want to be in general management. I want to be a GM one day. Don't be locked and set. Like I said, you're 21, 22. Go for it. Make the mistakes or be adventurous. The world's your oyster, man. And the faster you discover it, the faster you learn, the higher altitude is in your life, or in your career, or in your life, right?
Okay, well, as one of the recruiter in Top Glove, okay, we use the face as this situation is where, you know, the applicants is you know, from a different field of study is come to apply is for a different, you know, totally a different field of work. So, well, when we ask is what's the reason is why I want to switch, then they will say it's well, okay, I've done my study, blah blah blah. Then it's now I want to, you know, like find something new, learn something new. So when we start, for example, okay, let's say an IT student is applying for the job as a HR, for example, and say, oh, I'm very interested in a HR, you know, like I like to speak to people, you know, like I like to handle, you know, like handle the employees' engagement and so on. Then I will ask is okay, fine. So let's tell me more is about what you understand about HR. So then it's he or she couldn't answer properly. So what I mean is, if you are really interested to do something new, you better have really study what the new things is about. All right, you can't just convince the recruiter that I'm interested in the new things, and you don't have no idea, and you don't even study what the new things is about, and then that's only a feeling of interested. Okay, it's because I think it's everyone, even the fresh grads, you have to be very serious. I know that from beginning, at the beginning stage it could be like trial and error, but trial and error also I think you have to really think about what you really want to do. If you want to do something different, then you better study thoroughly. It's what the new things is about. Then only you decide you want to switch from your field of study. Right. That's my advice. Thank you.
There are more questions, but unfortunately we are running out of time. It was such a pleasure to hear from all three of you today. And I think as a student, I can say it's very reassuring to know that there are companies there which not only take care of my development in terms of the technical skills, but also care about me as a leader and care about honing those important critical skills. Definitely something very reassuring. I think all students would agree with me. So I think that brings us to the end of our session today. I've honestly really enjoyed moderating the session. And I just wanted to say a really quick thank you to Ollie, Ivan, and Daryl for this amazing session.
Pleasure's on ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.